We were ready for change, and we needed to get things moving. And one of the things that I was looking to do was to dig in and take a hard look at some of the programs that the U.S. intelligence community was involved in that I felt were useless, costly, and corrupt. And in fact, I sat through a presentation with the incoming Vice President, Mike Pence, in the transition headquarters. As we're being presented it, I started asking questions like, well, okay, this program that's been going on for a long time, what has it accomplished? Oh, we're going to have to come. I mean, then you get this. Again, these are senior guys. These are like the top people in the CIA. They're like this, and they're like, well, we're going to have to come back and we're going to have to give you a separate briefing on that. I ended up calling to have that briefing again. The next time I called for it was in the first week I was there, and it was me as a national security advisor now inside the White House. I got the same briefing, but this time they sent a whole bunch more people, right? It was like they knew that, because now I'm starting to dig in. Thousands and thousands of years ago, guys like Sun Tzu, famous military theoretician, studied him. Everybody that's ever served in the military at some level stayed in long enough, as hell, even a lot of people in business study Sun Tzu's Art of War. Well, what does Sun Tzu say about war? War is deception. A war can be a war in the narratives, in how information is deployed in order to manipulate the belief system of people. And so now, instead of, putting a bullet through somebody's head, you assassinate them by narrative. And for a guy by the name of Sun Tzu, who wrote about all wars are deception thousands of years ago, right? Nothing's changed.
The intelligence agencies are working with the legacy media to shape public perception of world events. That is not speculation. I'm not some outsider who's guessing at this because I read about it on the internet. I've spent my whole life working. My father worked at ABC News before going to work for the government, engaged in the Cold War. So I've seen both sides of this my whole life, and for 53 years. So I can say with authority and certainty that the intel agencies shape news coverage of world events. And the more significant the world event, the more meaningful it is, the higher the consequences are, the more aggressively they shape it.
Because the CIA's, they're masters at propaganda. They're masters at what's called covert influence, covert operations. Right? Hollywood, the media.
You're not a conspiracy theorist. You're an observer of verifiable reality if you state factually the news organizations of record, Washington Post and New York Times, are working with the intel agencies to lie to the public and to hide relevant information from the public. That is a fact.
Eisenhower had his own imperfections. JFK had his own imperfections, but they understood that there was something not right. And Eisenhower was really the first in a very somber warning.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
He used this term, the military-industrial complex, and back then, in Eisenhower's era, it was not very well developed. Now we have a services complex as well, and it seems that there are too many of our leaders in the federal government, in the Department of Defense, that really put the interests of themselves, their crony contractor friends, and their careers over the national interest.
Why did a guy like John F. Kennedy get assassinated? He got assassinated because he called out something that he knew to be a corrupt component of the government that was trying to usurp his authority as the duly elected president of the United States of America.
I think the assassinations of the 1960s are worth reassessing because they tell you what the system is capable of. Not just individuals, but the system in which they live, work, and thrive. The imperative to preserve that system is so overwhelming that individual players in the system can be sacrificed in the name of preserving it. Like, you just need to understand the stakes here. So if you're Flynn and you're standing up and saying, wait a second, you know, in retrospect, I think it's fair to expect that they would effectively try to kill you. You know, maybe not shoot you in Dealey Plaza, but put you in prison, impoverish your family, silence you, dismiss you in the eyes of most as ridiculous.